Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, Dr. Wagner. How are you?
Fine. Hello. It's night here in Germany. We have summer weather. We are very busy here with many projects, so I'm happy to be back on your stage.
Exactly. So yes, we have done a number of podcasts together some time back, and good to see you back. And hopefully we'll do more webinars like the podcast like this and bring more knowledge for our friends and people, professional project program portfolio managers. They really want to learn from people like you. So I'm fortunate to have you on this stage. So continue the journey.
Wonderful. So what is the topic of today?
So topic for today is we're talking about governance in portfolio management.
Wow.
So it's an interesting topic, especially people working in portfolio management, PMO head, CEO, director, everybody talks about portfolio in one way or other. And, key to success of any portfolio, having good governance structure.
Yeah, but actually in practice, there's not much of governance of portfolio management in place. So what I see, people are more focusing, or companies are more focusing on the portfolio management itself, but they very often lack the governance part. So that's a very interesting topic. So,
and that's why we need this topic, because yes, there are some organizations, and I know they're doing really good because they have good governance structure, but there are other organizations, they are doing average because they don't have the structure they should have, and hence this the topic we have, so we can offer them or just show them, hey, what is the importance of having good governance. So, sometimes when we are into that process, when we're running the job, project, program, portfolio, we don't realize that unless somebody outsider come and tell, hey, there's a problem. You're trying to pull this in the cart with the square wheels. No, we are very busy. Don't talk to us. We are very busy. We have to pull this cart and take this. No, if you change the wheel from the square to a round wheel, you can achieve better result. No, you don't talk to us. We're very busy,
Yeah, this is why we should start defining what it is, what we are talking about.
Exactly. So look, Reinhard, I have a few questions for you, and we're going to talk about that. So let me start with my first question. So could you please start by explaining the role and importance of governance in portfolio management and how it impacts the overall business strategy?
Okay, let me start by defining what we are talking about in governance. Because often it's confused governance with management, but it's two very distinct things. Management, I'm more focusing on execution. I'm running project, program, portfolio management. But governance is framing all these management disciplines that we have in an organization. And it's all the policies, all the guidance, the regulations that we have in an organization from a corporate governance level, or that may be from the supervisory board into the organization, so that you have a clear guidance, what is allowed, what is not allowed to do, where are the boundaries for all these management systems. So, and that's increasingly important to have these kind of governance systems in place, because it connects the strategic level, the decision-making level from the strategic perspective through the technical level into the operations of projects and programs. It also connects the whole leadership, the top management level of an organization through the portfolio management into the operational projects. So it's an involvement, it's an alignment, it's a connection between the strategic layer of an organization into the operational level. And so this is why it's so important to have that in place, to have it also dynamically in place, so that there's a connection between the strategy and what we do in project. And if that's missing, actually you can be very busy in doing your projects and program, like you said, but it's not sure or ensured that you are going in the right direction. that the organization is doing the right projects and doing them right. So this is why governance for projects, programs, and portfolio, by the way. So it's on all these levels important to have a governance system around.
Exactly. So by having a structured governance, that's the enabler for organization to achieve those strategies, objectives in a right way and in an expected time frame. One is we set up the roles and responsibilities. Clearly, everybody understand what roles and responsibilities they're responsible for, what is the escalation path, how and when we should be escalating, to whom, and things like thresholds. We have to define the threshold, whether a change request, who can approve it, when to raise it to the next level, and so and so. So there are many things we have to make sure we have some practices established as part of the standard for program management and portfolio management. They're talking about setting the principles around. That's where we talk about practices, principles, roles and responsibilities, governance plan, or established so that everybody understands what to do, what not to do. So there should not be any duplication of work. There should be, everybody should know what they are supposed to do, what roles and responsibilities, and when to reach out to the management.
Absolutely. And so we talk about governance. That's actually also a pretty new discipline or perspective. So because project and program management started more from the execution point of view, doing things in the most efficient way and so on and so forth. But in recent years, we see that also there's an increasing connection between all these management disciplines with the, let's say, strategic level of an organization. And as you're rightly mentioning, it's connecting to the strategy. And that was not seen, I would say, 20 years ago. So it's now more emphasized that there needs to be a connection between these layers.
Well, absolutely. That's where, organization can imagine or visualize, create a vision that we want to achieve that. And the portfolio management is the one who's going to make it possible. And that communication between or alignment between organizational executives, their expectation versus how and when the portfolio is going to achieve certain, those strategies.
And I worked in the ISO committee. There's a technical committee developing international standards. And 2007, we developed the ISO 21500 at this time on project management. And only 2017, the ISO standard 21505 on governance for project programs and portfolios was released. So it's a pretty new standard on the international scene. So it shows also it's a newer development.
Exactly. Good. Thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. Any other thoughts, or I can move to the next question?
Sure.
So in your experience, what are some common governance challenges organizations typically they are managing or facing at the moment, especially from the portfolio point of view? And how do you suggest they overcome these obstacles?
In the last few months, I had quite many talks to top management of organization, very large organization. And I think one of the challenges we see is that they don't see themselves in the area of projects, programs, and portfolios. So they delegate that into their management system and to, let's say, the middle management and say, okay, just do it. And if it's not working, then they complain and involve themselves like a fireman or something. And that's definitely not the way we want and need them into our management systems. So my solution is that they see their role in the whole project ecosystem of the organization, setting up the governance, also shaping it with all these roles and regulations, what you said, and so on, and put themselves at the center of this governance. Because governance also means you need to have governing bodies. That may be the management board or a steering committee or steering board on the portfolio level. That's solely for decision making. It's not an information hub, but it's about decision making. And if they see what's going on in the projects, in the programs, in the portfolios, they are aware of their influence. They are also aware what they need to do to improve the whole system. So it starts and it ends basically with their involvement. And I think that's a very important point that we need to emphasize. If you are in a PMO, for example, or if you're a portfolio manager, you should proactively involve the top manager, the senior management into that role, because otherwise any decision making on the portfolio level will be very difficult. So I think that's the key challenge, I would say.
Yeah, you need to keep them, informed, and rather you are satisfying their vision or expectation. They need to be involved in that kind of decision. So yes, you need to have good relationship and engaging with them, involve them in some of the processes. So they should not feel, hey, why I'm not, first of all, why I'm eliminated from the process, or I don't expect, I was not hoping this solution. Rather, let's involve, get the person into these discussions, C-level people, especially they are expecting something from your, from your portfolio. And that's you're actually telling that this is what we are delivering, and this is our strategy we are doing, which will align, that strategy will be aligned with the organization strategy.
Absolutely. And for example, we are working here very much with automotive industry. Automotive industry is heavily involved in transformation towards e-mobility and all the other things. And it's not just that the top management says, okay, that's our new direction, so just get it done. No, we expect leaders to be involved, not informed, but involved. Take their time, take the decisions that are necessary, support the portfolio management and all these management people, and not only respond if it's too late, if the project is in trouble. And that is what we need to advocate for, to get them involved in the governance of project programs and portfolio as a preventive measure.
Yeah. And also important to have clarity of information, what is happening on the ground, the project programs, and having a right, we can talk about that as having a dashboard, which gives you real-time information, which can give you access to the information, what exactly is happening on a project, why this project is red, and what can we do to improve the output of this project.
Yeah, but that's a very good point, because sometimes I am asked what kind of KPI I would test for managing a portfolio. I say, hey, why shall I or do I need to tell you what the KPIs are? You need to get that from a strategic point of perspective. Are you focusing on cash flow or on EBIT or on resource utilization? Whatever it is, that's your strategic intent. And you need, from a top management perspective, translate that into a KPI. We can help, we can show some examples, but it's not a consultant or a portfolio manager to suggest the KPIs. No, it's the top management's primary task.
Absolutely, absolutely, because that's where the management team get together to talk about, this is where we're heading to. This is what, we are moving toward. This is the problem we're solving. This is where, but at the same time, we look after, that's where you can talk about balanced scorecard, balancing the needs of your client, your financial side, your processes, and your the team, your employees. So you need to balance. That's where the balanced scorecard comes, and to achieve those balance, the scorecard or the objective, we have to have supporting KPIs. And
absolutely,
and these KPIs are given to individual portfolio managers, program managers, project managers. So as and when things are happening, they can see things are moving, and that's where we are getting okay, yeah, KPIs, we are hitting those objectives. We are either making our customer happy, or making more money, or we are improving your process, whatever it is.
Yeah, and the balanced scorecard is a very good example of how you can break down your corporate strategies into portfolio objectives, into program objectives and project perspective. And then the KPIs is just a measurement. And then you can report back on the same way up to the top management. But it starts at the top level. And this is why the involvement of top management is so important to just phrase their strategic ambition, and you just translate it into portfolio KPIs and so on. But the start is on the top level.
Yeah, good. Thank you. So my next question is, can you provide an example of a company that has effectively implemented governance structure within their portfolio management and the benefits they have seen as a result of that?
Yes, I do quite often assessments of organizations, so on which maturity level they are in project program and portfolio management. I recall a bank, not a national, but a state bank here in Germany, which was in my way perfectly well established in governance, but also portfolio management. And it was mainly IT driven because banks are typically doing a lot of IT projects, programs, and so on. And they started from their future bank vision, developed an IT architecture with a plan, okay, which IT system should be in place when and what exactly, so they could drive all the requirements and so on for the IT projects. They translated that into an IT portfolio at that time. And from that point, you could go for a project portfolio and drive it and drill it into the whole project plans. And that was, let's say, not only initiated by the management board, but they were also at the top of the governing bodies. So they certainly had an IT steering committee, they had a portfolio steering committee, and they're very much aligned to really drive that process. Just a second.
Okay.
And so this alignment, I'm very often missing in other organizations. They may have a good portfolio management, but no alignment to the, let's say, architectural plans. Or the management board is not involved only just in escalation cases and so on. So I would really see that like a Russian puppet, this matryoshka, so that everything is built consistently from the project, program, portfolio level into the governance. And vice versa. So this alignment, I think, is very crucial to have in place. And there are very rare examples of organizations that have all that in place.
Exactly. Good. So thank you for sharing this example case study. My next question is, how can an organization balance the needs of need for stringent or stringent governance practices with the need for the agility and adaptability in portfolio management? My next part is, are there any specific tools or techniques you can recommend?
Very critical question, because as many organizations, also like in automotive, but also with banks and so on, are increasingly working agile and using not only agile on a team level or project level, but scaling it to a program or portfolio level and so on. The agility on the strategic level is very critical. So it doesn't really help to have an annual budgeting process, which stops, let's say, at the end of the year and defines the budgets for the following year. So, so you need to have a different, let's say, a pace of doing all this decision making from the strategic level. You may have a quarterly strategic update of your plans, also a budget that you just slice it into quarters or maybe month even, and see what kind of budget needs you have in moving from January to through December. And that also takes a bit more flexibility and agility in the decision-making process. And again, in a bank and an insurance company, I saw that what we have on the project level in, let's say, a planning or estimation poker,
Yeah.
you can even do that on the strategic level, so that the management board gets every quarter, let's say, some money, let's say budget money, and some proposal for projects they would like to see, with also the roster of the strategic objectives. And then they do a kind of a planning poker on the board level, what kind of projects and programs they want to do. And that's very interesting, because at the beginning they say, we don't want to play.
Yeah.
But at the end, it's not only fun, but it is also very dynamic, because then they can reprioritize the activities and the projects. And that's helpful then for the portfolio management to balance all the needs of the organization with the resource availability that's in the organization. So more agility on the strategic level, letting them also participate in planning pokers on the strategic level. I think that's something I like to see in more organizations.
So I have seen planning poker in agile projects, but at the program portfolio level, or strategic level, how actually that's done? Do you know, you were participated or you were involved in some of them?
Yes, and it's quite interesting to see that the people, it's a kind of an intervention, because they are not used to that. But everyone on the board level is used to play poker or any kind of games. So like you now, they start smiling, and you need to explain why you do it. So the purpose of this kind of planning poker at this level, and they are very quickly into that, because they understand, okay, now this is an easy way. And the good thing with this kind of planning poker on the strategic level is they need to come to a decision. And they know they have limited funds, like the chips, like the budget money they have. And they need to decide, do I put it on this project or that project, and so on. And then they also need to come to a consensus if there's not clear what the final decision is. So it's a very nice way of bringing them into decision making.
Okay, something new to learn. Interesting. Thank you. All right. Any specific tools, techniques other than planning poker you can think of?
Maybe if we talk about tools, certainly I think digitalization, artificial intelligence, and so on is bringing a lot into this game, because sure, the reporting is not only based on Excel spreadsheets and so on, but if you have, and that's what we use in my company, but also make available to our clients, like the big OEM in automotive, that you just automatically get the information out of various databases and compile it into a dashboard.
Yeah.
And you know that we use a lot of dashboards or cockpit charts in portfolio management, which is then provided to the top management for decision. And so that can be done quite automatically today. You may use Power Automate, Power BI solutions on the Microsoft level, or robot process automation with other tools. So it's independent from, let's say, the specific tool that you would use.
Yeah. Yeah.
And AI is even spanning much broader, with machine learning applications and so on, so that you get more information like risks or cost or any other issues automatically into your dashboards.
Yeah. And I told you when I was in the Frankfurt with you, I told you about the VXDCC. This is highly automated, fully automated system where you get alerts and, from project programs, a dashboard and balance scorecard, and it's fully connected with other systems. So all, the resource, especially the resource management part, is really, really powerful. You have limited resources with different type of resources, how to manage and how to make sure the resources are allocated on the right project, right time. And having real-time information of those resources is really powerful.
Yeah, but there's also a requirement that, and this is why we typically don't see that in organizations, because they have various tools various databases and so on. And if you have just, as my company is doing it, just on Microsoft, it's much easier because you have, it's very easy to retrieve data in a common format or from the same provider. But if you have, let's say, Primavera as for your scheduling, or you have an SAP for your ERP systems and so on, so they are often not connected, and then you have a lot of interface problems to overcome and so on. So this is why we also, like I showed you in the other sense, that we need consistency also in the data system, because without consistency of the data sources, it's very difficult to do digitalization and automation, right?
Exactly. And that's where I was talking about the VXDCC, because it is one system. You don't need multiple systems. Your sales happening, project program portfolio, operations, HR, supply chain, warehouse management, finance management, everything in one place. So you don't have to worry about data system and connectivity and all that. Anyway, so these kind of, there are a number of tools coming up in the market, and depending upon your needs and your budget, many things you need to see which system can help you to do your job better. Keep yourself informed, keep your stakeholders informed and executives informed about what's happening.
Yes, and we see a lot of debate right now happening on AI application in project management, and people are talking a lot about, I have typed in some question into ChatGPT, and now I have a very fancy answer. And some guys are also doing now some studies on, are you scared about AI and so on. But what I'm actually missing is what kind of technology is really available on the AI, let's say, field. And this is why one of my sons is now doing a deep dive into the technology and the development of AI technology. And we will translate that into what's coming up in the future. And I see there's a lot more than just ChatGPT or what ChatGPT is offering at the moment. And we need to be, let's say, cautious. What can we actually do with it? What shall we do or shouldn't better not do with it? Because you also know that cybersecurity and many other issues are related to that topic.
Exactly.
And we need to be careful with this development.
Careful, and when you're talking to ChatGPT, sometimes you may give some information which may be sensitive to your organization. You are asking ChatGPT, can you refine this information, an email to which I'm sending to my boss? In that, you're actually giving away some information about your organization to somebody who's watching.
Absolutely. And we issued just 2 weeks ago a guideline for our employees here, what they shall do with AI and not do with ChatGPT. And it's exactly the point, because some start developing project plans with AI. But for that, you need to give some basic information into that tool, and this will be stored forever. It's not, you cannot delete that. You can delete your traces, but that information is somewhere in the sphere. And that's the same if you want to do a proposal for your client. No, better not do that. But so we need to have a governance system for using AI in the sphere of project programs and portfolio. Exactly. And we started developing that.
Exactly. And maybe in future they can say corporate level ChatGPT or something, just only for your corporate, only on your cloud. Anyway, so that's the thing where companies can start making money out of this.
But that's maybe a topic for another podcast, talking about the opportunities and the threats of AI applications in project management.
Yeah, why not? Let's talk about that next time. All right, let me continue my next question. What role does technology play in enhancing the governance in portfolio management? And are there any specific software or tools that you believe are crucial for effective portfolio governance?
Actually, I'm not aware that for the governance, there are specific tools or software available. So typically, sure, you have this kind of portfolio management tools for the dashboards and the list of the projects and programs that you are running. But for the decision making on the governance level, let's say in a portfolio steering group or something, it's very helpful to have, let's say, simulation tools or scenario tools where you not just only look at the actual status of your portfolio at a certain moment, but also have a forward-looking capability, having the options of scenario 1, 2, or 3 to choose from, maybe also with the an evaluation of what is better for the organization in that context. And these kind of tools, I think, would be helpful to make also more dynamic decision making. Not just prepare this. This is just the option that you can choose from, but have more scenarios, more simulations, decision-making support. I think that would be the software and tools I like to see. We have just talked about AI. I don't see a computer taking the decision for a steering committee. I still believe that should be in the hands of humans. But the support of AI for that decision-making may be in the background, something a portfolio manager would use. But it's still not a computer decision which way to go for the organization.
Yeah, I mean, computer can suggest you, provide you pros and cons, or recommend you, just like a portfolio manager, as a portfolio manager recommending this to your senior managers. And computer can help you in coming up to decision or suggestions based on some analysis. Instead of you doing analysis, the system is running analysis for you and giving out some numbers and comparison, and you use those numbers and take or suggest some direction of decisions. Yeah, it's not far away when you say, hey, computer actually gave this decision and fantastic, we don't have to discuss anymore. That's it, accept it. And that will happen based on the lesson learned and more successes we are getting from those decisions. Makes sense. We just blindly start accepting. Yes, you're careful. We have to be careful about it.
Yeah, we need to be careful. And if you listen to Sam Altman and others in the AI scene, they are just warning us exactly for that point. If I see these project management enthusiasts saying, okay, AI will take over, I think that's a dangerous hypothesis. I would say no, they are not allowed to take over. They are just supporting, they are supportive for the decision making, but they are not deciding.
Yeah. I hope not. So, yeah, when we talk 20 years in future, we still take a look. We talked about that. And yeah, AI is still, ChatGPT is still our slave. Okay. Now we're talking about future. Looking toward the future, how do you see the landscape of governance in portfolio management evolving? What steps should organizations take to stay ahead of the curve and ensure they are prepared for these changes?
Wow, that's a big question. I don't foresee the future, certainly. But what we already can see at the moment that more and more themes are getting importance in organizations. And just let me emphasize sustainability. Here in Europe, from July next year, we have the ESG reporting, environmental, social, and governance reporting in place for organizations with more than 250 employees. We don't know exactly how that looks like, but certainly from all the projects and the portfolio level, we need information on sustainability aspects, which is then considered in the rating, so a financial rating of the organization, and that will decide whether you get financial funds from banks or investment funds and so on. Or whether you're downgraded and have difficulties to get any loans and so on. The sustainability aspects will also have an impact. And this is why they play an important role now also for the governance and portfolio management. This is why Tiba, my company, also decided to make an alliance or partnership with Green Project Management in the US. They have some models to inject sustainability in project management. And PMI is also partnering with Green Project Management. And we are preparing with that companies here in Germany in our industry for these ESG reporting requirements. And so that's something I would see that is very important governance in the future. And certainly more and more the strategic fit, so that the portfolio of activities really fits with your strategic ambition. And what we also tackled here, to build the dynamic capabilities in the organization, so to be very agile from the strategic level into the projects and backwards. So all that, I think, needs to be emphasized in the future.
Yeah, definitely. A lot more focus on ESG and a few other values we're talking all the time, especially environmental, social, and governance. So yeah, we will see more and more technological impact on our future decision making. Or we already talked about ChatGPT and others. AI-based systems. We're going to see more and more, and they help you in a more agile way. They are more agility. You can see decisions are taken, based on facts and figures, not because somebody emotional about. Based on the ROI, based on some numbers we're talking about, bubble charts and other things. So that's where we'll see more and more happening technological base. So look, I mean, I'm excited about the future, how it's evolving, everything evolving, and I think organization will benefit. Of course, we have to use the technology thoughtfully and more effectively after doing due diligence. Who's seeing the information and the security aspect and many other things we still have to learn. And if we have a good system, secure system, and can help you with the decision making, those things will be very useful.
Absolutely. So it's exciting. It's a lot to do. For many organizations, they need to level up their project management to the governance level, and I think that's what we need to help them with.
Exactly. Great. Thank you very much, Reinhard. It was really thoughtful discussion, and thank you for sharing your experiences, your knowledge about, and you are guru in this space with having 31 books and so much information you have in your brain. I'm trying to extract it so that many people can benefit out of this.
I would encourage people to just link with me on LinkedIn and ask questions and so on. So I'm happy to answer them also beyond this podcast.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. And thanks all for watching. And we'll be back again. I am sure this is not our last podcast. After a long time, we'll have more often. And we'll talk more about AI and ChatGPT. Yay, this is an exciting topic. Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.